Perfect. Welcome. Good morning, Comfort.
Good morning.
So, Comfort Takang, you're here for our Fellows in Focus session. So we get to know you, for our University of Minnesota Hematology Oncology Fellows. Really having a fun time getting to know all of you and sharing your story. Um, so this is going to be relaxing. It's supposed to be fun. And so with that, let's just get started. Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? Because I know it's different than a lot of our fellows here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I was born in Cameroon, somewhere between West and Central Africa. I grew up there and went to med school there. I was the last kid and the only girl, so I had some privileges there. But I went to med school in Cameroon and then moved to the US where I did my MPH and now residency and fellowship.
So how many siblings do you have?
Oh, well, it's hard to say because I grew up in a home where, my mom, cousins and brothers are
Ah,
just about the same. But I would say four and I am the last.
got it. Um, are any of the others in the medical field or any of the others here in the US?
Yeah, I have a brother in Maryland, but I think I'm the only one that kind of went into the medical field. Everyone else is, doing something either more academic. Uh, my brother is more into anthropology. He loves people and things like that, cultures. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Those are the some of the most refreshing discussions to have. I can attest to that with a family in my own household that or within my immediate family, a lot of people in the medical field, but a few that aren't. And I'd say the more refreshing discussions are with the people who are not talking shop all the same time.
Right.
We're already doing enough of that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you don't really have a lot of that. You didn't necessarily grow up with physicians in the household or other things. So then why did you choose to pursue medicine?
That's a good question. My mom answers this question in a way that is way better than I can do. He always tells this story of when I was a kid and I was about 6 years old and I just vividly remember it. She was frequently sick and I was the only girl, so I was kind of close to her, always by her side, and I was just curious like what was going on, and for the most part I really didn't have answers. She didn't have answers either. Most of the time the doctors were very busy and barely had time to like explain in details to her, let alone to me. But I was curious and I really wanted to know why. And this one day I just got up and asked her, like, you know, can a female be a doctor? And she said yes. And then I told her I want to be a doctor so that I would go up and take care of you. And if I can take you to my colleagues to take care of you. And she always remembers that story. I just grew up with that childhood dream and eventually became a reality. I'm grateful for it.
That's amazing. I love that. Especially that idea that, again, we can sometimes take for granted, and it's certainly not it certainly doesn't mean that everything's equivalent, but that women are physicians. But as you said, you don't know that as a kid. And I can't speak to the medical field in Cameroon, but it sounds like it would be a rare, an anomaly in some ways or an exception, at least when you were growing up.
Yeah, in those days, I think the doctor to patient ratio was like very high, like one doctor for like, you know, uh, tens of thousands of people. And so they would just go over patients like over the minutes really fast, focusing on what's most important. But things have evolved with time and we have many more doctors. So I I think there's a lot of change there.
Got it. So then, going past that, wanting to have that personal touch and connect with patients, or in this case, your mom, as that
Yeah,
hypothetical patient. What made you choose hematology oncology?
another interesting question. So, growing up, we had boarding schools. It was like very rampant in our days. So at the age of 9, I went to a boarding school. So you pretty much lived there. And, your classmates, your friends, kind of like your sisters and brothers. And in that setting, we had a few kids that suffered from sickle cell disease. And some of them I was close to. Some of them were friends of mine. Some of them were like mentees. And I was just marveled at how frequently they needed to be hospitalized and how much pain they were in. And it just kind of raised my curiosity. Along the way, we lost some of them, and that really was quite impactful to me. It just kind of inspired me into the field of hematology. So fast forward, going into med school, had a hematology mentor that kind of helped shape my path. But along the way as well, one of my aunts was diagnosed with cancer, and it took us quite a while, about 3 months, to wait to see an oncologist. And that's how I found out how few there were in the country back then. And I just got inspired in the field. And into residency, lost my aunt to breast cancer, and eventually I figured, I really want to do more of hemong and to do some global health along the way so I can have some impact and give back to the community where I came from. And that's how my interest or my focus in sickle cell and breast cancer came about.
Yeah, it's a that kind of powerful personal experience, plus just watching, seeing the environment. That's not a I under I I could have presumed the sickle cell component of it, but I didn't know the breast cancer part of it. So that's really helpful for me to kind of understand how those things merge for you and for your
Yeah,
life experience.
yeah, thank you.
So you are in the mode of thinking about research and starting to plan that next step, right?
Right.
What are you looking at doing? What are your interests? Where do your interests lie, or what preliminary work have you started?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot.
Not just on
And
interviews here. Yeah.
right, right. And that's what I think about a lot most days. So putting the pieces together, but I definitely know that I would love to be engaged in a global health research project. I am currently making contacts with the team from Tanzania, the cancer center there, and I'm hoping to make a trip there and get some global health experience from them. They do a lot of work with breast cancer and some breast cancer research that I to be engaged in. Um, I am also looking into being a part of some hematology clinical trials. Um, I really love research and mostly clinical research. So my hope is to get more experience in that field and to hopefully bring new innovative medications to the population that way.
We love that. We love that excitement. And that actually leads me into my next question really well, because if you're in the United States, you can certainly do those things, but it's harder to do. But I kind of are you thinking, or let me put it this way: where do you envision your career in 5 to 10 years, kind of post fellowship in the next one? Is this something that you're going to be going back home, or doing some degree of true regular global outreach, but staying in the States? Where do you see it?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I love planning a lot. Those who know me know that I do. I love projecting 5 years, 10 years from now. I feel like it's easier to project that far and then walk your way down.
Yeah.
Well, when I look at myself 10 years from now, um, I see myself getting engaged in a lot of global health projects that involve uh, establishing and helping with the running of cancer centers in most developing countries. So I see myself working in either an academic or an academic affiliated center in the US, which will allow that possibility to kind of do some global health research and education as well. There's a lot of capacity building that is necessary in global health
Mhm.
oncology, and that's something that I see myself heavily invested in the future. Um, Maybe 75% clinical practice in the US and 25% global health, engaging research and education, um, not internationally.
Yeah, I have colleagues who do work like that, certainly within the sickle cell world, and I think that a couple things have become clear to me, at least vicariously through them, is that you really have to build sometimes from scratch or sometimes from a few pieces that are there, but you really have to dedicate your time to the same place over and over again,
Yeah,
to really build relationships and community and strengthen that those ties in the medical care that you're providing there in a way that both sides feel is respectful and reciprocal and thus sustainable. And then
right.
along the same lines, kind of keeping your foot on the United States side, it's going to be much easier to get funding for projects and such in the United
Exactly.
States versus say in Tanzania or Cameroon or other parts of Africa, just because the funding streams are going to be easier to find here.
Exactly. Right.
So, did you have any ties to Minnesota before you came?
Not really, not really. Minnesota is very diverse. It has a lot of people from Africa, Cameroon, and several nations as well. So um, there were a couple of friends, family friends here and there. But what really drew me to this program was the hematology department of the program. I think it's top class. It has the hemophilia center definitely was a good catch. I love the diversity, the sickle cell center, and just the enormous amount of research opportunities that the program availed. So I was drawn by that to Minnesota.
Well, we take pride in it as from a bias standpoint as a hematologist, but I do think it's real. I think people don't appreciate that we do have that breadth, like you said, and we both have
Yeah,
diversity in the community, but we also have 8 hematologists and who do classical hematology. So you have the opportunity, both clinically and academically, to see a lot of things, to see diseases that no one else in the state or the region will see. Porphyria
yeah.
example, and we built a sickle cell program. We've got decades worth of bleeding and clotting expertise here, and I think
Mhm.
that's why we're really excited for our heme focused through ASH, our hematology focused fellowship kicking off. But we can really teach
Right.
you and the next generation, or the generations after you, that how much fun this is, and more importantly, how you can really build and sustain an academic uh, career in classical hematology. Yeah. We love our oncology
Absolutely.
folks. I feel like we have very strong oncology and BMT as well, but certainly I'm partial to the
Hmm.
oncology side. and
Absolutely. We don't not forgetting to mention that. I was very excited about the hematology focus track. It was just about time. I think that it's gonna be quite resourceful.
Yeah.
but not to mention the snow. You know, I have lived in most tropical weather places, you know, Africa, Hawaii, Texas, Florida. Never really had a head-on experience with the snow, and so I took up the challenge. And I survived my first winter looking really happy. So
Yeah, you got a lot of snow for your first one. You know, and I'm
I
from Tennessee. I
do.
grew up in Tennessee and was born and raised down there. And so, you know, it once you're here for a little bit, you get used to it. And
Yeah.
I think what's interesting, exciting, or at least what's refreshing about it, um, and this isn't certainly for everybody, but you know, you see people. I mean, I go jogging in the snow. You see people like, you know, there's people snow biking, which I don't do because I don't bike in the summer. Um, but it's not like the city shuts down
Right.
in the winter. The city is vibrant.
Hmm.
There are winter festivals. There are snow, you know, St. Paul Winter Carnival, for instance, or there's one in, over in Minneapolis. And so I think that that is refreshing in the sense that when you are stuck in January and February, and you're like, oh, we're still just in the middle of it, that people are embracing it. You know,
Yeah.
snowshoeing, they're cross country skiing, they're going up and doing snowmobiling, etc. That it
Yeah.
you can make you can make it enjoyable. You don't have to feel like you're locked in your house. And then you know that the summer's coming, and the summers are amazing, and the summer weather
Oh yeah.
makes it all worth the wait, as we're kind of getting to the spring now finally as well.
Oh yeah. I think the city has found an amazing way of thriving through the winter. I could barely tell, no matter how heavy the storm is, the roads are cleaned up pretty
Yeah,
quickly, and you know, life as usual.
life as usual. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, when we're thinking in through our career or even getting to that point, mentorship is really critical, and understanding, you know, and people are different mentors for different phases of their life or different components of their career. So for you, and it certainly doesn't have to remain local here, it could be wherever, but who do you think of as your mentor or mentors, if plural, and how have they helped mold you into who you are today?
Thank you for that question. I have been privileged to have many mentors going along my career path. I would just talk about one of them, my first hematology mentor in medical school. Her name is Professor Dora Mbanya, and she was the head of the hematology department at the time, and she's now like head of the African Society for Transfusion Medicine, and also the Hematology Society in Cameroon. But she actually took me at the baby stage where I just all I had was this idea, this interest, and she introduced me into research. I would always remember, you know, working in the field with her and collecting blood samples, analyzing them, shipping them over, you know, doing the write-up, and that was uh, a great experience. I was inspired by her mentorship. She loves mentoring people. She's mentored a lot of people, and her work-life balance, you know, she had a good balance of, you know, work, family, and community, and very innovative. She started a lot of, pioneered a lot of projects in the hematology field and still does today. That kind of inspired me and just looking up to her, knowing that, you know, this is achievable and, you know, her pointing the way for me.
Got it. Speaking of work-life balance, or I guess more specifically, the fun part of
Yeah.
outside work, what do you like to do? What gets you engaged and excited when you leave the hospital?
Oh, well, outdoors, I love playing tennis. I
Okay.
just play around with friends and families, and I love doing hiking. Haven't done much in Minnesota yet, but indoors I do love board games like chess.
Okay.
Mm, I do play that a lot with family as well. Just love spending time with family, and overall, I love community life. So for the most of my life, I am always engaged in some youth group, you know, helping to like mentor the youths that are younger than myself and just inspire them to pursue their dreams and purpose and to, be good citizens and give back to their community. So I do a lot of mentoring and engaging youths in a setting, in a Christian setting.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You have
Yeah.
a wide breadth there. It sounds like, I mean, if I, you could even think of both, well, certainly chess, but even tennis as strategy games, of thinking games, of kind of keeping your
Mhm.
mind engaged. I sense that in you, and that sort of excitement to share your experience and your vision with others. Yeah, certainly I've noticed that with working with you. Have you talked
Right.
to Manish about tennis? I know that he's very much into it.
I haven't. I talked to Dr. Fijoka. I haven't. I know they play on Tuesdays in the afternoon. I'm hoping for a better schedule to consider that.
Exactly. So maybe second and third year when your schedule opens up a bit.
Yeah.
If you weren't a physician, what would you be?
Oh, good question. I think I'll be a counselor.
Okay.
Over the years, I have learned that that's something I'm really passionate about, and it even translates into my job as a physician. But I love listening to people and being there for them, and just being an extra layer of support, encouragement, and that's what I do with the youths that I work with. Just counseling them, coaching them, and inspiring them. So I would have been a counselor, I think.
Got it. Well, final question here. You have lived all over the world. You have experienced lots over your life. So pretend you're a travel agent. Tell me one place that I should go and why.
Ooh, that's a no-brainer for me. Hawaii.
Okay.
You should go to Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii for 3 years,
Oh, okay.
and it was a fabulous season in my life, I tell you. Very simple life, lots of fun activities, the surfing, just beach days, hiking, skydiving, sea diving, whatever you can think of. It's just so much fun. It just makes you appreciate nature.
Mhm.
They have a couple of islands there that are designed differently, so you kind of have different experiences you can get from there. So Hawaii.
What were you on Oahu or which island were you on?
I was in Oahu, and I lived in Honolulu
Okay.
quite a while. Yeah, my husband was active duty in the military at the time, so he worked at the Tripler
Oh, yep. I know
hospital.
Tripler. Yep, the pink hospital.
Yeah,
Um,
the
my
pink
mother-in-law
building
grew up on
on the
Hawaii,
hill.
so
Oh, really?
yeah. So we've made a number of trips over the years, and I'm most familiar with Oahu, but I've been to Maui, and actually we're going to Big Island this year, this summer.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I hope you enjoy it.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Take my kids there too. Well, it's
Right.
been a pleasure, Comfort. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for giving us your perspective on the fellowship, and most importantly, I think it's just been fun to chat and take this. It's a little bit of a break within the regular flow of the day, of course, and I know you'll get back to being on service here. But thank you again for your perspectives.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
All
Have
right,
a blessed day.
thank you. You too. Bye.